Hello, my name is Elmer, and I'm here today to challenge you to become a part of one of the greatest soul-winning endeavors ever in the history of the Christian church. Pentecost was great, 3,000 saved, and think of all the others that were saved because of that day. But I want you to imagine every church in the state of Virginia, every Southern Baptist church on the same day, inviting the friends of its members to come to church, and we're going to pray for the biggest day of evangelism. I want your church to be a part of it. My church is going to cooperate, and I don't know yet, but I'm going to bring a friend. The last time my church had a friend day, I brought a friend because I believe in Friend Day. Now, years ago, 1984, we put together a program called Friend Day. Very simple idea of everyone in the church inviting a friend to come to church and winning people to Jesus Christ. We have sold 47,000 of these Friend Days. Whole denominations are taking it. Now we're coming to My Friendship Connection, a Southern Baptist program built on the same soul-winning dynamic, friends inviting friends, relatives inviting relatives to come to church where they'll hear the gospel and they'll get saved. Now, we have a project director.
Hello, my name is Vernon Brady, and I'm the project director for My Friendship Connection. This is going to be a powerful day, and it's great to be here with you today, Dr. Townsend, to tell the churches we need to bring hope and help to the pastors. Now, research tells us 70 to 85% of our churches are plateaued or declining. Let's not kick them. Let's bring hope and help. We can change that. We can turn Virginia and America around and reach our friends for Jesus Christ. Now, I want you to tell me, go back in your mind. I want you to tell me about Rod Kidd. You remember him? You're teaching class, a characteristic you always do. You go, you need to have a friend day.
I was teaching class at Liberty Theological Seminary, and I was telling them about Friend Day as a great evangelistic tool, and Rod Kidd had been a church planter here in Lynchburg, Virginia, Heritage Baptist Church, and I said, Rod, you need to have a Friend Day. He said, Dr. Towns, we don't do promotions. We just preach the word, visit, get people saved. Well, I let it go. The next class, he came back, he said, you know, I've thought about that, and we can have a Friend Day. I'm going to have a Friend Day on one condition. I said, what's that? If you'll come and be my preacher. So I said, done. And so he had a Friend Day. It was in November 1984. This church was running about 83 in attendance, and it was still in a rented storefront of a strip mall, and they were getting ready to move. He said, let's have a Friend Day and really bring our people in. So he began to organize. He organized all of his people to have this Friend Day. And then, since I was going to go, I said to my wife, we're going to go over. And my wife said to me, well, I'm not sure I want to go because I know this church. That Sunday, everybody's going to stand up and introduce their friend. And here's going to be the dean's wife. That's my wife, Ruth. She said, I'll be sitting there looking dumb without a visitor, so I don't want to go. And I said, well, you know, she said, I'll tell you what, you bring me a card, a yes card, and I'll get my friend to come to Sunday school. Well, this friend didn't actually come with us. She met us at the church. I drove up to this church building, and it was just a brand new red brick building holding about maybe 250, and they had crushed rock, no parking lot yet. And as I pulled into the parking lot, a deacon ran out saying, stop, Dr. Towns, stop. He said, we're going to have so many people there today. He said, let's save the parking lot for the visitors. Go down the road and park in the ditch, he told me. I turned to my wife and I said, we're going to have revival. She said, how do you know? I said, when you get a deacon that excited, you know that we're going to have revival.
Okay, Dr. Towns, I want to know something. People are watching and they're going, yeah, but that's just an exception to the rule. Will that work in any church?
I think it will work in any church. It's New Testament evangelism. It's Jesus going out and talking to people. And as you remember, Andrew brought his brother to Christ. Cornelius brought his family to Christ. And think in terms of the people in the Bible who brought a friend. Friendship evangelism is basically biblical.
Biblically based.
Now let me tell you that my wife, Kathy Burley, and my wife shared the same desk, or shared the same office, 2 desks, and they were realtors, and they sold real estate together. And so Kathy came and sat with my wife, and as she sat there, she listened to the sermon. I gave the invitation, and I was disappointed. No one came forward. And I thought I'm a pretty good preacher, but no one came forward. But we've learned from Friend Day, you don't have your biggest harvest of souls on Friend Day. It's the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Sunday. And so you have your big day, and it's a principle we've come to call the law of 3 hearings. If you work hard on Friend Day, the dynamics of relationship, my friendship connection, will get them there. And then over the next 2 or 3 Sundays, you work hard in follow-up. Technically, a church will work harder afterwards than you do before. And so here's Kathy Burley. And she said, you know, I've been searching for God. She told, I went to a Catholic church and couldn't find him. And she talked about the different kinds of churches. And she couldn't find God anywhere. And she came to this Baptist church, and then she heard the sermon, but she had to think about it. And so we talk about the law of 3 hearings. Get her to come back 3 times. She came back the 2nd Sunday, and between the 2nd and the 3rd Sunday, she got saved. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's great. And it'll work in any church. Yeah. Anybody can get saved. But I want you to tell me some more. Tell me what happened to Kathy Burley, because I know the rest of the story, but they need to know.
Okay. When you look at the rest of the story, Kathy and her husband, Mike, were just a young couple, young married, mid-20s. I call them young people. And the church organized to follow up, to mail to everyone who came 5 or 6 times, to visit everyone who came 5 or 6 times, to phone everyone who came 5 or 6 times. Now, not all that many 5 or 6 times to everyone, but it was over a sequence. And so Mike would say, as they came home from work, they went by the mailbox, and he said, oh, we got a letter. It's from those people at the church. He said, nobody ever writes us a letter. We get bills, we get junk mail, but who do we get personal letters from? The people at the church. And he said, we'd be eating the supper, the phone would ring. He said, even before you'd pick it up, he said, that's the people from the church. Why? Nobody ever calls us except solicitors over the telephone. And then he said, the knock at the door would come. He said, nobody visits us. That's the people from the church. Well, on the 2nd Monday after Friend Day, I'm watching Monday Night Football. And as I'm watching Monday Night, the phone rings, and all of a sudden I began to shout, hallelujah. I'm shouting hallelujah, not for football, because here is the pastor on the line, Rod Kidd. He said, Dr. Towns, you won't believe it, but I'm here in the home of Kathy Burley. We've been mailing and visiting and calling, and tonight Kathy Burley bowed her head, became saved. And he said later, Mike, about a week later, bowed his head, saved. And Kathy Burley became a Sunday school teacher in that church. Why? Friend Day, reaching people for Jesus Christ. You know what? There are many Kathy Burleys in your neighborhood, and your church can reach them.
Wow, that's great. But I'm not going to quit. I know we got to move on, but I want to know some more about Rod Kidd. Okay. Tell me what happened in his church. You're talking about a great day, but I want numbers.
Okay, on that Friend Day, they were averaging 83. They had never been over 100. He said, we had tried to get 100, and on Friend Day, he said, I remember the week before, he said, Dr. Towns, we've done all of this. Do you think we could have 150? I said, well, what I know is that most churches will double their attendance on Friend Day. So 83 and 83 will make 166. And he said, I'd be happy with 150. I said, would you be happy with 150? He said, I'd be happy if we broke 100. They had 237 on Friend Day, and they never dropped below 160 again.